All the action is above the ground when Sky Commanders take on the evil Raider forces of General Plague. Sky Commanders! Flexwing spots evil raiders below.
They're on laser cables!
In the 1980s, one name ruled the action figure aisle: G.I. Joe. It wasn't just another toy line, it was a phenomenon.
Goes loaded for action.
It's the new Cobra Commander! Cobra!
But Joe's coming back with the G.I. Joe Slam.
On the run for gun, G.I. Joe!
And by 1987, Hasbro had built a multimedia empire of toys, cartoons, comics, and unforgettable characters. But another company believed it had found the formula to challenge the king. Its name was Sky Commanders. Now, on paper, it had everything a hit toy line needed: a unique world, an animated series, exciting vehicles, and one revolutionary play feature unlike anything kids had ever seen. The only problem was that the very gimmick designed to make it different ended up bringing the entire brand crashing back to earth. To understand just how ambitious Sky Commanders was, you first have to understand the toy landscape of the mid-1980s. Now, this wasn't simply the golden age of action figures, it was the era of toy-driven entertainment. Cartoons weren't just cartoons anymore, they were giant advertisements designed to build entire worlds around toy lines. And no company understood that better than Hasbro. So with G.I. Joe, every figure came with a name, a speciality, and a backstory printed right on the package. Kids weren't simply buying another soldier, they were recruiting Snake Eyes, Duke, Scarlet, or Cobra Commander into an ongoing battle that played out through cartoons, comic books, and of course their own imaginations. Competing against that wasn't very easy. Now, Kenner knew it couldn't simply release another military toy line and expect kids to switch sides. It needed something completely different. And in 1987, the answer arrived as Sky Commanders. Now, instead of battling across deserts or jungles, Sky Commanders took place on the mysterious high frontier, a newly emerged continent filled with unstable mountains, violent storms, and constant earthquakes. Traditional vehicles were almost useless, forcing both armies to travel high above the ground using specialized cable systems stretched across dangerous terrain. Now, the heroes, led by Commander Mike Summit, fought the ruthless General Plague and his raiders for control of a powerful new element known as Theta 7. It was a simple setup, but it created the perfect excuse for something kids had never seen before: Zipline action figures. This was Sky Commander's biggest selling point. Every figure and vehicle could attach to nylon cables that kids stretched around their bedrooms. A line could run from a bookshelf to a doorknob, from a bedpost to a dresser, turning an ordinary room into a towering mountain range. Characters could zip across the room, rappel down imaginary cliffs, and launch surprise attacks from above. It looked incredible in the commercials. For a kid watching television in 1987, it felt like the future of action figures.
Track Protector sets his defense.
Battle track locked!
High above, the evil Jackal Raider takes aim.
Sky Commander, head for cover!
Unfortunately, the commercials skipped one important detail: actually setting everything up. You see, the entire play system depended on carefully stretched strings. Kids had to find anchor points, tie knots, adjust the tension, and hope everything stayed in place. And if one line slipped, the entire setup could collapse. Instead of epic aerial battles, many kids found themselves untangling knots or watching expensive vehicles slide off the cables and crash onto the floor. The more elaborate the battlefield became, the more fragile it was. And that was the fatal flaw. Now, with G.I. Joe, you opened the package and immediately started playing. The imagination really did the rest. But with Sky Commanders, you had homework first. And parents weren't especially thrilled either. I mean, bedrooms suddenly filled with bright nylon lines stretched between furniture, creating what many jokingly described as spiderwebs across the house. It only took one person walking through the room at the wrong moment to bring the entire battlefield crashing down. The toy's biggest innovation had become its biggest weakness. And of course, there were other problems too. Unlike G.I. Joe, which focused primarily on collecting individual characters, Sky Commanders leaned heavily on vehicles, and the line remained relatively small, giving kids fewer ways to expand their collection. Now, the figures themselves also stood around 3 inches tall, making them noticeably smaller than G.I. Joe's famous 3¼ inch figures. And that difference may sound minor, but it mattered. Kids loved mixing toy lines together. G.I. Joe figures could battle Transformers, He-Man, or whatever else happened to be lying around the bedroom floor. Sky Commanders felt isolated. They belonged only in their own world. Kenner tried to support the line the same way Hasbro had supported G.I. Joe. The cartoon series premiered in 1987, produced by Hanna-Barbera with animation from Toei. Like the toy line, the show was surprisingly ambitious, expanding the mythology of the high frontier and giving the characters personalities beyond the packaging. The strategy made perfect sense, actually. If kids loved the cartoon, they'd want the toys. And if they loved the toys, they'd watch the cartoon. The problem was that the toys never really caught on.
One man, General Lucas Plague, is determined to hold that title. And it's up to a rugged team of mountaineering experts, led by Commander Mike Summit, to stop him.
And without strong toy sales, the television series had little chance of surviving. After just 13 episodes, both the show and the toy line disappeared. But Kenner wasn't finished with the concept. The series hinted at future storylines involving dangerous mutated creatures living within the high frontier, and there were reports that improved versions of the cable system were being developed to solve many of the original toys' frustrations. Unfortunately, none of those ideas ever reached store shelves, and by the time improvements were ready, retailers had already moved on. Today, Sky Commanders occupies a fascinating place in toy history. It isn't remembered as the toy that defeated G.I. Joe. It's remembered as the toy that almost found a completely new way to play. Ask collectors about the line today, and you'll usually hear the same response. Everyone loved the idea, but almost everyone struggled with the execution. Now, ironically, that frustration has made complete Sky Commanders sets surprisingly collectible. Because so many cables were lost, tangled, or thrown away over the years, finding a complete set with all of its original parts has become increasingly difficult. The very feature that hurt the toy in 1987 has become one of the reasons collectors value it today. Now, looking back, Sky Commanders represents something that made the 1980s toy industry so exciting. Companies weren't afraid to take risks. Some ideas became legendary successes, while others became fascinating failures. Kenner deserves credit for trying something genuinely different. Instead of copying G.I. Joe, it invented an entirely new style of play that encouraged kids to think in 3 dimensions rather than across the bedroom floor. It didn't work as well as anyone hoped, of course, but that's exactly why people still remember it. The rise and fall of Sky Commanders is the story of a brilliant idea that stumbled over its own ambition. The concept was innovative, the world was memorable, and the cartoon had real potential. In the end, though, a great idea has to work every time a kid opens the box. Sky Commanders aimed higher than almost any toy of its era. It just couldn't quite stick the landing.